Okay, well, today is what, Saturday? I gotta go into the studio because we have a off-site party that a client has that Noel has to go to over in Gig Harbor, and so that leaves the studio here without anybody running it for a few hours. So I'm gonna basically close it down tonight there. So I'm just getting ready this morning, staying caffeinated. I need to get me a different cup, like a big giant one. Noelle has one. She never uses it, but it's a cup like 3 times the size, and it's just. Oh, I want that. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Have a Ask Her Snowy person. The subject line was how to get a passport. This individual says, I have a question. I know this may sound silly, but how do you get a passport? I saw your videos about what young black males should do, and one of the things you mentioned is a passport. It seems a lot easier to get a passport than to buy land. Excuse me. And I would really like to travel overseas. I've never been overseas, obviously, and I don't know the process for this. No one in my family, I don't think, has ever had a passport. And now that I am 19 years old, I feel like it's time to explore a little bit. The information I have gotten when I search for it doesn't give me information that I feel like I can trust. So I want to make sure that I go to the right places to get a passport. With that said, what are some safe countries for me to visit? I have some concerns as I've never traveled overseas. Being a young black man, I wanted to go to places that are going to be a little bit more accepting, but also just be able to explore as well and feel comfortable. Give me some places or ideas of where I could possibly travel. That's a great question. Really, a lot of great questions, really well thought out. And so I did some research for you. And I wrote down my top picks. I have 3 top picks. Okay. And what's funny is my top picks are also a part of these 2 lists. Okay. So there's one, and before I go into the list, I'm going to kind of talk about where you would go to get a passport and all of that. And I'll include the link in the description box below. Also, make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. But there's going to be 2 lists. One that says racial equality rankings. These are countries where people feel strongly about having racial equality. The other is the top 10 safe and welcoming places for black men. I'll include the link for both articles as well on that. I'm going to make sure I put a note. I include links. Okay. Now, for you to get your passport, it's relatively easy. Passports, a little background on it. If you're wanting something that's kind of immediate, so 12 weeks and under, you're going to have to do a little bit more. There's going to be a lot more hoops, and you're going to have to pay a lot more money. And so I don't know how soon you're looking for, but if you're looking for just regular leisure travel, so anything that's after 12 weeks, the way that the State Department looks at it, then, you're fine. But generally, a passport for an adult is going to be about $140. It takes some time for it to actually get to your door. They're saying maybe 18 weeks, given the fact that there has been such a backlog, and because of the sickness and there hasn't been people processing these applications as fast, it may take several months to get anything. But the good thing is passports last for a decade, so not a big deal. But if you go to the travel.state.gov, and I'll again include a link here, that's where you get information about U.S. passports, international travel, U.S. visas, all of that, and additional information. It'll tell you how to fill out and download your form, the cost of the passport, which I went over, how to submit a good photo, tips for U.S. citizens and documents. Show us your photo ID, find passport service locations, etc., etc., etc. So it gives you a ton of information, and it's the U.S. Department of State and the Bureau of Consular Affairs. So that is where I would go to get information. I wouldn't go anyplace else because these are the people that pretty much process all that, right? So there's that part. The other part is because of the sickness, a lot of places aren't going to let you come in, or they'll let you come in, but when you come back to the U.S., obviously you have to be tested again. So I'm not sure when you're wanting to travel. However, as a young black man, I think getting your passport should be the very first thing you should do. I think as a graduation gift, if people ask, when you graduate from high school, what do you want? I want my passport. Because the cost is not super crazy. And in fact, one of the things that I would suggest doing is when you're in high school and you're about to graduate, one of the big key things is for graduation gifts, say that you're having a fund for people to pay for your passport. And if you exceed that $140, great. Use that for spending money or whatever you want to do. But that's what I would do, is try to have someone raise funds, or raise funds. Basically say, as a graduation gift, I want to travel, so I need my passport, and that's what I want. A lot of people would like that because you're not asking for something that's, insane like a car. And people can throw $10, $5, $20, $50 towards it, and it's not impossible, right? So you probably will exceed that. I would say passport and, your first international travel. So here are the countries that look at racial equality rankings. Some of these will overlap, okay? Netherlands is number 1. Canada 2. Now, this doesn't mean you have to agree with it, and I don't know how all this information was compiled and how they took it. You're going to have some people say, that's not true. I don't know. But I'm just going on base what I've seen in these 2 pieces that I have here, right? So Netherlands is number 1, Canada is 2, New Zealand's number 3, Sweden is number 4, Denmark's 5, Finland is 6, Switzerland is 7, Norway is 8, Belgium is 9, and Austria is 10. Okay, what was that? Now, the 10 safe and welcoming places for a black man. Oh, let me go through my top picks. Okay, my top picks are Japan, Ghana, and Sweden. So what I would do if I were you would be to look at wherever you are, look at flights to all 3 countries and see which one's the most affordable. Now, right now, Japan is getting slammed with the sickness, so you obviously can't go there. But my top 3 picks would be Japan, Ghana, Sweden. So that would be what I would. If you're asking me that question, I'd say it'd be one of the 3 of those. Now, top 10 safe and welcoming places for black men is Ghana's number 1, Portugal, Austria, Denmark, Scotland, Thailand, Canada, Singapore, Japan, and Senegal. So literally all but 2. So Ghana and Japan made the list for the safest places and welcoming places for black men. Sweden's not on there. I'm sure it's not super far, to be honest with you, on that list. It's probably in the top 15. I'm not for certain. But this is kind of what I would do, is to take that list, and I'll go over it again. Ghana's number 1, Portugal number 2, Austria number 3, Denmark is number 4, Scotland is number 5, Thailand is number 6, Canada is number 7, Singapore is 8, Japan is 9, and Senegal is 10. Again, so I would probably, if Japan, Ghana, and Sweden are not something that, you're like, I don't know. There's other lists here. Now, the ones that literally overlap, if I can do this correctly and quick, would be Austria, Denmark, and Canada. So if you look at both lists, one that believes in racial equality rankings and the 10 safe and welcoming places for black men, Austria, Denmark, and Canada are the ones that these 2 sites are saying are either racial, they believe highly in racial equality, and the other in terms of welcoming you. So now everyone's experience is going to be different. I can't say that you go to Japan and people won't treat you trashy, because it may happen. I can't say that people haven't been treated wrong in places like that. However, a lot of this they're looking at just overall patterns, right? So it may be that there's not really any place you can go where people aren't going to like stare at you. That's going to happen. But as far as not feeling welcomed or anything like that, I think this is a pretty good list. So I would say that would be the top thing to do. If no one can afford to get you a graduation present and you can't get a passport from people pitching in, get you a job, an easy, simple job, and your first check should go towards this. And I'm telling you that because it is one of the best investments you can do. If I could redo things in life, it would be to get a passport and travel the world first. I would literally travel the world, enroll in college, because I think that for me, if I would have taken a break, I got a new chair, as you can tell. It's a gaming chair, but the leather or whatever it is, I don't know if it's leather or not, it just burns me up. It's hot. It's hot. But anyway, the first thing I would do is get a passport, go to college, because if you take a break, or in my case, if I would have taken a break, I wouldn't have went back to college. So I had to stay in there. But during your spring break, take a trip, or summer break, take a trip. I think that is the wisest thing to do. Don't get bogged down with the crazy at home. Don't sit around and, just do nothing. Literally travel. One of the great things about being young is that employers are used to young people job hopping. So you may work 6 months one place, quit, work 6 months in another place, quit, 6 months to a year and quit. Employers don't really care as much at that age versus when you're my age. So, and if they ever ask, well, you were, what'd you do for the summer? Just say I traveled. I have a passport and I traveled the world. I went to whatever, and that can sometimes be a win for you. There's been times when I've told people, like when I've done stuff and been overseas, and employers are like, oh, or just people in conversation, they're like, oh, when I'm doing a project. So sometimes that is so important because people look at you a little bit differently. You've actually seen some new things, different people, different culture, different foods. You're a little bit more open-minded, even though that may or may not be the case. Sometimes people view it that way. It's that, oh, you're a little bit more open-minded. You're willing to try new things. So I would highly suggest that. Highly, highly, highly suggest for young black men, that's one of the very first things that you should definitely do is invest in you. And travel. Go to one of these places, as I mentioned, and travel. Now, I know of someone who went to Sweden, because they asked me the question, and I gave them my top picks, which I had said Japan, Ghana, and Sweden. I remember telling someone, those are my top picks, and that's what I would technically go to out of those. And so the guy basically said, okay, fine, wrote down the 3, put it inside of a hat, and he drew Sweden. He went to Sweden, said it was the best time he ever had. He had never been overseas before. I think he spent like 2 or 3 weeks there, and he said it was the best thing that he could have ever done. The best thing that he could ever done. In fact, he's planning on going, when things start to settle down again, he's planning on going again. This was a little bit ago when he first did this. But now he's planning on going back there again because the experience was so good. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. So anyway, I would suggest definitely taking a trip to a place that you have a lot of curiosity for. And maybe one of the countries I mentioned is something that is interesting to you. As I mentioned, there was a guy that drew out of the hat those 3 different places, and he chose Sweden. And he has friends now that live in a completely different part of the world. So they asked him, when are you coming back? He said that he felt very safe, never had any sort of issues when he was there. People were very, very friendly. No matter where he went, people were super friendly, nice, that type of thing. Food, he liked the food that was there. all of that, all of that. So to me, I think that that is what's very important, is to just go. You know, don't be afraid to travel and try new things. Another one too that people have somebody asked me about or told me about was Denmark, and I think I knew someone from the Netherlands at one point, and she was really really cool. You know, and I forget how I know her, but she was really really cool. She was from, I think she was born maybe someplace in the Middle East or something like that, but was raised in the Netherlands. I can't remember now, but she was super super nice and awesome. So I would say give it a shot. Try it out. You have the information for a passport. All you have now is time and opportunity. Pay that $140. You don't need to rush it, because what's the point anyway? You know, you're gonna have to deal with the sickness, and who knows how long the sickness will last. I would say that, you know, hopefully within 10 years things will be will be better. Oh, but that's what I would do. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. I'm going to include all 3 of those links as I mentioned. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.